you had a good meditation next door or downstairs. For those of you that come regularly, well, you might notice the shrine is a bit different. And well, this weekend we're celebrating a figure called Padmasambhava. Yeah. Tomorrow is Padmasambhava Day. There's a festival day tomorrow, which you're very welcome to come to, which I'm sure will be very good. And well, yeah, we have this beautiful shrine. I'm not sure who made it. I think Mirko put it together. I know Artiketu painted the painting at the end. So this morning, I just want to say something about Padmasambhava. Yeah. So Padmasambhava, well, he's said to brought Buddhism into Tibet, and he's sometimes called the second Buddha, at least according to the Tibetans. So I thought this morning, I just wanted to look at, well, three things really. One, who is Padmasambhava? The second one is, why is he part of our tradition? Yeah, all the way over here in Berlin. And the third thing is, how might he be helpful in a way, if that's the right way to put it. I'm not sure, I couldn't phrase the question properly, but how might he be important even, perhaps? So they're the three things. Who is Padmasambhava? Why is he part of our tradition? And how might he be helpful or important? So Padmasambhava is said to have been born, I think, in the 8th century in what is now, I guess, Pakistan, Afghanistan. His life story is quite difficult to get hold of. It's quite, as with most life stories of ancient times, they're kind of woven between myth and what we would call fact. Yeah, and I think, to be honest, that's probably true for us as well. We like to think we have a certain date. I was born in 1900 and whatever it was, and and this is all the things that happened. But it doesn't really tell you that much. Even photographs, yeah, don't really tell you. There's something mythical about our own life as well. So, in a way, it's the same with the Buddha. We have more information about the Buddha's life than Padmasambhava's life, factual information. But the facts don't really tell us much. Yeah, they can give you a century, they can give you a few actions that were done, but in a certain sense, with these kind of what you might call biographies, the myth probably tells you more about the inner journey or the inner world. Expresses more about this person somehow, about their life necessarily than the bare facts. So his life is very much interwoven. It's very hard to say what's what. But apparently he was born in the middle of a lake at the age of 8 years old in a lotus. So I don't know, maybe that's true. Maybe that happened. And that's where his name comes from. Padma means lotus. Sambhava is born, so he's born from a lotus. And there's a whole, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but he basically became a Buddhist and ended up being a great, what we would call scholar, not the right word, teacher, tantric guru, yeah? And a real master at all these things. He's said to have been at Nalanda, which was a huge monastic university with 12,000 monks, something like this. Is enormous. So he was in that part of the world, and he spent a lot of time practicing in not cemeteries, burial grounds, yeah, where people come to burn their dead, and there's kind of animals there, and they're said to be like haunted places, perhaps, full of strange spirits, and he would practice there. Yeah, so he was not afraid of these kind of things. At the same time, there was a monk, apparently a very good monk, who'd gone to Tibet to essentially bring Buddhism to Tibet. Yeah, so Tibet was a wild place. Well, we all know Tibet, or we know pictures of Tibet. We have an image of it in our mind, and it's quite interesting because I've met Tibetans before, and the Tibetans are kind of astonishing in their kind of response to things that have happened to them in recent times. Yeah, hardships they've had to face, all this kind of thing. But what was quite interesting, before Buddhism came, it was said to be a very ferocious place. Yeah, so we all know about Genghis Khan. You know, there's a whole kind of warrior culture, and it's the same in Tibet. So I did not get his name wrong. Santarakshita. Is it Santarakshita? I've forgotten his name now. It's not Sangharakshita. Yeah, Santarakshita. So he went to Tibet, and he was a very good monk. Apparently, he was trying to teach them basic Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths. Maybe conditioned co-production, the wheel of life, this kind of thing. And the king of that area of Tibet wanted to build a monastery. Yeah? They wanted to build a proper monastery for Buddhism to flourish in Tibet. The problem was, every night they built this monastery, they would come back in the morning and all the bricks would be back where they were, the whole thing was demolished again. Yeah? And this kept happening. They kept trying to build the monastery and it kept being taken down at night. And what it was apparently, although the people were very happy, interested in Buddhism, the spirits of the land, you might say the demons, they were not happy. They didn't like it at all. They thought it was terrible. So they just kept destroying the monastery. And in the end, they put out a kind of SOS to Padmasambhava, who was in India. And Padmasambhava decided to go to Tibet. Yeah. I guess in those days, it was not something done casually. That could well be, that's your whole life. Yeah, you don't casually go to somewhere like Tibet from India. Yeah, so it was a big journey, but he went. Yeah, and I think they especially wanted him because he was a tantric master. He was into all these kind of maybe he could deal with the demons. Yeah. So he goes to Tibet and he engages with the demons of Tibet, and he basically, he pacifies them. He gets them on board. He gets them on side. All these forces that want to kind of destroy this monastery and are not interested in Buddhism, he communicates with them. They end up giving him their, which I like actually, their secret names. Yeah, so you can imagine some demon destroying everything around you, and you kind of work. I'm about work with it. I'm not a tantric master, so I don't know. But you do something with this demon. Yeah, you engage with this demon, and it offers you up its name. Yeah, its secret name, which is the same as almost its life itself somehow. Yeah. So there's a certain intimacy. There's a certain intimacy that Padmasambhava has with these forces, with these demons, and he makes them swear an oath as well to protect Buddhism. Yeah. So not only are these demons kind of on board, they're also protecting the Dharma, as we call it. They're protecting Buddhism, yeah? So there's a lot of energy in this. And in a way, it's the same for us, isn't it? We all have demons. We all have wild forces in us. Sometimes we're unaware of them. They start kind of doing all kind of stuff in the world. Start doing stuff in their own life. Sometimes they start wrecking our own life, and we need to listen to them, don't we? Or we need to engage with them in a way, and I guess eventually transform them. Maybe we learn their secret name, we learn what our demons are, and in the end they can become a friend. Yeah. So there's loads of amazing stories about Padmasambhava converting these demons. I have to say my favourite one I heard on a retreat at a place called Padmaloka, given by Padma, and Padmaloka in a way is dedicated to Padmasambhava. I'll explain how we get there in a minute, why it's part of our tradition. But Padmavajra, who some of you know, is someone who's practiced the Padmasambhava is Padmasambhava is Padmavajra's practice and has been for over 40 years, yeah, in a serious way every day, which is quite astonishing, yeah. So when he was giving this talk, it comes with a kind of inner world and a weight and a momentum behind it, which really affected me. This was about 15 years ago. I was on a retreat, and probably also why I asked for ordination in the end, because I just thought, this is amazing. This is completely this is not what I expect out of Buddhism, yeah. So anyway, one of the most famous demons is a demon called Tarapalita, yeah. And he's also called the mother eater. Yeah, he's so bad that he was hungry and he ate his own mother. Yeah, and he turns into some horrendous demon of the land. Yeah, he's like horrible, horrible demon. So Padmasambhava has some kind of spiritual warfare with him, or some mantra, there's some mantra stuff going on. And in the end, unfortunately, all I remember from this story is Padmasambhava turns into a tiny flying pig or a donkey and flies up inside his penis, this other demon, and explodes him. And that was the end of Tarapalita, yeah? Well, not quite the end, because then Tarapalita also gets converted and starts protecting Buddhism. But that story, I was just like, I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. Like on a Buddhist retreat about some flying pig going up someone's penis. I just thought, this is wild. I thought it was great. I was like, this is amazing. Yeah, and somehow, anyway, I even went on ChatGPT and I actually wrote, if its guts fall out, how can he still be alive to protect Buddhism in Tibet? What kind of question is that? It's like, it's obviously never happened anyway. You don't get a tiny flying pig flying up someone's... And then ChatGPT said, that's a sharp question, Tarapalita. You've put your finger on the paradox at the heart of this myth. In the Padmasambhava cycle, the stories aren't written like modern history. They work on a mythic and tantric logic. So wow, ChatGPT knew, huh? So anyway, it might sound weird, but it was part of me asking for ordination. I don't know, it wasn't just that story, obviously, hopefully, but it was a bit like this whole business of your demons, yeah? There's so much energy in there. I mean, half the music we love and listen to is demonic, you know, like, it's great. It's like, it's got so much energy in it, you know, that we need that on board. And when I was, even the figure of him, I thought, is he like he looks like some kind of, I don't know what he looks like. You know, he actually looks like, he does actually literally look like the devil in a way, yeah. And I was living in a community, I was living in a community about 20 years ago in Bristol. And there must have been some Christians had found out that we were a Buddhist community, yeah. And I got a knock on the door one day, and I opened the door, and this guy was there with a leaflet, and he just gave me this leaflet, and like looked at me and walked off. I thought, wow, okay, what's this? And it was Padmasambhava riding a tiger, which said something like, "You're worshipping the devil." It was like, and it has a whole leaflet about how Buddhism is demonic, and I thought, wow, he went to a lot of effort, you know. He could have just said that, but he made a whole leaflet for us, which was very nice. So, but there's something about that. There's something about Padmasambhava, and it's like, what's that story? What's that saying? The devil has the best tunes. You know, there's something about energy where there's not this dualism between, oh no, I can't be. All this other stuff is all bad. I have to put this in a box, and now I must be a good Buddhist, and I shiny, perfect, mindful, always perfect Buddhist. And I went, to be honest, when I began Buddhism, before I began Buddhism, I found it repulsive, the image of it. I just thought, it's just not for me. Yeah, it was. But with Padmasambhava, I thought, wow, this is a really interesting figure. So, as a little side note about magical mantra warfare, there's a great story about Sangharakshita, who founded this particular tradition. And he was born in England, and I think he was in India at the time, and there was another Englishman turned up they were having a cup of tea together, and it's such a strange story, because Sangharakshita is not one of these people that makes up wild, funky stories. It's just like, but it gives you a glimpse into something. And he said and this guy started doing, it's like these weird green symbols start coming out this guy's eyes, and they're approaching him. So then Sangharakshita started doing the Avalokiteshvara mantra while drinking a cup of tea, while having a conversation, like pushed this like green energy away from him back into this guy. I thought, this is amazing. Such an English kind of, you know, a polite cup of tea and then some weird mantra warfare going on. So, great. Anyway, so how is Padmasambhava part of our tradition? Well, I mean, in a way, to answer that, it's probably good to have some idea of how traditions emerge in the first place. There's normally somebody normally leaves an existing tradition and starts a new thing because they feel that the thing they're involved with or have been involved with has gone a bit stale and somehow it's gone a bit dead, or they're asked to go somewhere to start something. And I think both those things happened to Sangharakshita actually. So he was born in the UK, he's born in London, And in the 60s, well, there was loads of hippies. There was an opening in the West for, it would never happen these days. You know, we're so kind of locked in to our kind of what we're doing. But there was an opening. There was a cultural and even psychic or spiritual opening. And he came back to the West and founded a new tradition, which is this one. And his teachers at the time were very happy. They in a way, I think they basically said to him, it's good that he goes because he's from that land and he can communicate in a way that might actually land with people organically within their own culture. And so that's how it happened. And I think it's 5 out of his 8 main teachers were from the particular tradition where Padmasambhava is said to have started, the Nyingma tradition. Yeah, some astonishing figures, really astonishing figures. So that's why that's one reason he's part of our tradition, is because 5 of his 8 main teachers were, well, I don't know about the last of a generation. They were like giants basically, and Padmasambhava had began that their lineage. So I mean, basically, what happened is there was when the Chinese came into Tibet, a lot of them left. They basically fled through northern India, and that's how he got to meet them, because he was in northern India at the time, and he got to meet them basically and take initiations and practice with them. So that's why Padmasambhava is part of our tradition. But it's more than that. I think it's also that Sangharakshita had an immediate response to the figure. I'll read a passage. I think he was in Darjeeling actually. Was it Darjeeling? I'm not sure. Does anyone know? Yeah, it was Darjeeling. So he went into a temple, and there was this huge figure of Padmasambhava. Yeah, and I'll just read what he says. It's from one of his Sangharakshita's biographies. He says, "Though I had never seen the figure of Padmasambhava before, it was familiar to me in a way that no other figure on earth was familiar and fascinating. It was as familiar as my own self, yet at the same time infinitely mysterious, infinitely wonderful, and inspiring it was to remain. Indeed, from then on, the figure of the precious Guru Rinpoche, which is Padmasambhava, was to occupy a permanent place in my inner spiritual world." So a tradition emerges from a people and a person, and I think that's why Padmasambhava is so much part of our lineage. I think it's also, somehow I get the sense that it was also necessary to start a new Buddhist tradition at a particular time in history as well. There was a lot of pretty wild young people in the 60s that picked up Buddhism and threw everything into it. And obviously it would be chaotic. You know, there's a lot of energies, a lot of stuff going on. And it seems like as a figure, almost Padmasambhava was, I'd say is, but was necessary to bring all that energy together and really do something with it. Yeah. So it's not just that he's part of our lineage. In a certain sense, he's needed. He was needed as a figure. Yeah. Maybe to break through old social conditioning, religious conditioning, and to bring energy. Yeah. So, I mean, Buddhism is said to be as much about energy as it is about wisdom and compassion, and this figure, Padmasambhava, kind of brings that out. Good. So, why might he be helpful to us here and now? Actually, before that, I just thought I'd go over a couple of dangers of practice. Dangers? Maybe not dangers, a bit of a strong word, but a couple of... let's just say dangers. A couple of dangers with this whole practicing this Padmasambhava thing, yeah. The main danger is probably to do with literalism, yeah. In some ways, you know, I think Moksharati was saying in Mexico, but maybe it's the same here as well. A lot of men especially would look at this figure and be like, it's a real man. It's like, you know, and it got a little bit too, and not macho is the wrong word, but he kind of embodies sort of different archetypes. There's a king, warrior, magician, lover, all these archetypes. He sort of embodies them all, but it's easy to pick it up in the wrong way, yeah. I don't think we have any danger of this. Perhaps also what you might call, I think what Sangharakshita calls pseudo-spiritual exoticism. You know, where you see a figure and it seems so exotic to you that you're like, oh wow, and it's kind of all a bit unreal and a bit exotic, yeah? Doesn't have the kind of roots. Somehow also I've been in so many situations where sometimes when Padmasambhava is evoked, it becomes a bit of a kind of free-for-all, a bit of a kind of individualism, like, now it's my time to do a kind of solo or something. I'm just gonna, like, you'd be doing a mantra and someone will start going, oh, Padma. They like go off and like, you're like, what's going on now? Yeah? The most extreme example I've seen of this was after I was ordained with, I was going to say Padmasambhava, with Padmasambhava. My God, all the Padmas. We were ordained about 10 years ago now. And on my first order weekend, you know, you become an order member, you go through a whole thing, training, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, you have these weekends. So we were all there together in this place called Adhisthana, and there's this massive tent, like a festival tent. I was already struggling, like I struggle with big numbers of people, yeah? So I was already like, wow, yeah, it's like loads of people. And I was sort of hiding in my room a bit. Anyway, I came out like a little animal, went into this tent, and there was a puja. There was like a ritual, a big loads of chanting, this whole big ritual, this puja for Padmasambhava. And I was like, wow, I love Padmasambhava, great. So I was there. And so the mantra began. The first thing that happened, these two, like, I would say relatively elderly women got up and started dancing next to me. And I just thought, oh, that's different. And then like there was a friend of ours called Paraga, he's really great. He's one of these people that you can count on to be, irreverent, irreligious. He's like if people get too pious and like holy, he'll immediately just destroy it, which is really great. Anyway, he was there, and like everyone's doing the mantra, and this guy next to him, I'm not lying, he started beatboxing, yeah? So it was just like, Om Mahung Vajragu Padma Siddhi Hum Dum No No No, and the guy's like, Padma, and I was like, oh no, my toes were like grinding into the floor, and like Paraga was just staring at him like this, like, and apparently I heard afterwards, Paraga was more worried that people would think it was him. Because everyone's like, what's going on? So he's all doing his solo time and getting groovy, and I was like, oh no, this is so embarrassing. So don't do that, please. Please don't beatbox. I mean, beatboxing is great, but not with Padmasambhava. Yeah. Anyway, because that's the potential dangers, which is a very serious danger. Things like this can happen. Yeah. So that's to be aware of. But in the past days as well, I've been reflecting on, well, why is this figure so helpful? We've talked in vague terms, or I've talked in vague terms, energy, taming demons. It's all important. But actually, it's popped out of a couple of study groups I've been in, and just reflections of why he's so important. And funnily enough, it was in our study group the other day, someone said his eyes are open. It's not just open. I'll put one of the pictures in the WhatsApp group, his eyes are really open. Like his eyes are, like the Buddha normally has more downcast eyes. There's a kind of inner world of riches. Although the Buddha was the same as Padmasambhava essentially. He was going around, he was even taming demons. Yeah, there's the whole fire chamber story. He's taming energies, taming demons, and he was, in fact, when the Buddha came out of the jungles and the forest, he would 100% not look like this. He'd look terrifying. You'd probably be like stunned if you saw him, yeah? So he's more of a shamanic figure, at least when he first leaves the forest, yeah? So not a clean-cut, nicely robed, golden Buddha, yeah? So in a way, Padmasambhava is a bit like that. His eyes are wide open, and for some reason, I just think that's important, yeah? It's important to have a figure like that as alongside the Buddha. Something to do with engaging with the world. I don't even know. I don't even think I want to talk about it too much, but there's something important about a figure with its eyes wide open and kind of present and almost moving out of themselves. Yeah. I've said about the taming demons, harnessing their energy. There's something also about, I was mentioning it earlier, about not being afraid of one's animal side, one's kind of, in the best sense, one's wild side, even one's demons. And I was reflecting on it. I thought it's actually within our own culture, there's been a whole drive and whole push to engage with that, like especially with music, especially in a place like Berlin. Yeah, especially I was saying when I was growing up, and for generations now, there's, in terms of like all kind of music, that, well, it's all there. It's just missing something important, which is, you might say, like a higher perspective or order of consciousness. But there's something to do with energy that, if you can't bring it into your practice of Buddhism, you're not going to go anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to kind of try and be a good Buddhist for a while. Then you'll get frustrated with yourself because you've got inner things tearing you all over the place. You can't practice anymore. Then you think, oh well, I can't practice Buddhism. And then you get so down in the dumps that you think, oh, I need to practice Buddhism again to be happy. And you just go through this kind of bumpy cycle. But I think a figure like Padmasambhava is very helpful because of this explicit kind of engagement with these sides of us that need to come on board. Yeah? If they're not on board, we have an anemic spiritual life. I don't know if English is your second language, that's not very helpful, but anemic is like very pasty, very pale, very kind of half-dead spiritual life, essentially. Yeah. So we need ways to draw that into ourselves, to actually engage with that. Otherwise, we end up partitioned. Yeah, we have one side of ourselves going this way, and another side going this way, and we end up with all sorts of like inner conflicts. Yeah, they will arise anyway. Not just because you have Padmasambhava on your shrine doesn't mean you're not going to have that problem. All of us, I think, it's like everyone practicing Buddhism has that same thing at a certain point in their life, or maybe from the beginning. Yeah. You don't just fly down the highway to enlightenment. There's all sorts of strange places you will end up that you will need to go. And Padmasambhava really embodies that. Yeah, he's meditating in cremation grounds. There's all these wild, strange forces and figures around him. So I think he's important on that front. I think he's also important because he's not purely mythical, but because he's so mythical, it forces you out of your kind of narrow rationalism about, if I can't factually check something, I'm not going to engage, and therefore somehow almost puts you into your imagination immediately, like with a capital I. You have to get into your, again, to meet fully grown adults that have spent 5 decades of their life with this figure intensely on a daily basis, that is something, yeah. And so it forces you to say, well, is that a waste of time? Is this just like this person's on a kind of fantasy trip then? They're just like imagining this figure, and what an enormous waste of a life. But no, because you meet these people and you're like, something is clearly going on a very significant level, yeah. It's not just an inner world journey, it manifests itself in people's behaviors and even their energy, yeah. So I would say that's why he's important as well. Yeah, maybe I'll leave it there. So Padmasambhava is, like I say, he's a semi-mythical figure, but is also said to have brought Buddhism to Tibet, tamed the demons there. He ends up in our tradition because, well, our own teacher's teachers were part of the school that Padmasambhava established. I think Padmasambhava is also important like I say, he's also important in our own journey, our own inner journey. We can't just cut bits of ourselves out that we don't like or that are problematic. It all has to come on board. And in a way, Padmasambhava explicitly represents transformation. There's something alchemical about him. Yeah, it's like you can take those energies that are within us all and that express themselves in different ways, and you can harness them. I had something good I was going to say and it's just kind of drifted off. You know that annoying thing when you think, oh, that's really good, and it's gone. It's gone. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.